If you love boats and canal boating, then Cruising the Cut might be one of your favorite YouTube channels. David Johns is the man behind this popular channel. His story is quite fascinating. In this video, I'll tell you how David's love for narrowboat started, how he quit his job and sold his house to live on a narrowboat, and how he started Cruising the Cut. So, now let's start from the beginning. David Johns was born in 1969 in Droitwich, Worcestershire, England. He grew up there. He has a sister, Deborah, and his father, a former marine electronics engineer, was into sailing. David attended the 2007 London Boat Show, where he observed Dutch barges and narrowboats. He was attracted towards living on them, but at the time he was in a job and had some ambitions, so he let the thought of living in a narrowboat pass. In 2015, David grew tired of working in his monotonous local TV news reporter job. He felt that he couldn't grow further in his job, so he decided to radically change up his life and get out of rut. In March 2015, David saw a beautiful picture of Brixham Harbor on a 2015 RNLI calendar on the kitchen wall of his home and thought of living by the sea. So, he went for a few days to Brixham, and even though he liked the boats, he decided to not live by the sea. Later, David decided to buy a camper van and tour Europe. So, he started attending the camper van shows, but quickly realized that he would need to keep moving in the camper, but he didn't like driving and campsites. Also, David wanted to be in proximity to his aging parents, which wouldn't be possible with camping around the continent. As David ruled out living in a camper van, he started thinking of alternatives, and that's when he recollected about canal boats, which he saw in 2007. He decided to live on a narrowboat and was confident that living on water would offer him peace, tranquility, and a sense of adventure. Also, David was impressed by thousands of miles of canal in the UK, particularly around the Midlands, where he could stay close to his parents. So, David, along with his father, attended the Creek Waterway show. There, David looked at many boats, but found all of them to be expensive. Later, he also visited many brokers, but couldn't find a reasonable narrowboat. Finally, he stumbled upon Airbnb at Creek, where he fell in love with the narrowboat Rayland and bought it. It is a 55 feet 11 inches long steel-hulled narrowboat, built in 2000 by G&J Reeves Company and fitted out by the Milburn Boats Limited. Prior to finalizing on living on a narrowboat, David paid for a one-day narrowboat experience to a narrowboat dweller in Branston. After living on the boat and interacting with its dweller, he was amused by the experience, especially the nature, and decided to buy a narrowboat for himself. Before buying the narrowboat, David thoroughly read the Canal World Forum for many days and gained knowledge of narrowboats. He quit his job, sold his house in Kent, and moved to Midlands and started living on the narrowboat close to his parents. Selling his house and getting rid of the things in it wasn't difficult as David didn't have many possessions. He sold most of his things on eBay and gave some of them to his friends, whereas a few very old things like his sofa and dining table went to the junk. As David bought Rayland in a pretty good condition, it didn't need much fixing. He did a few little tweaks, replaced the charger, and inverted and fixed solar panels on the top, and in the initial couple of months, he painted its hull with a bituminous paint to stop the steel from rusting. David sold his house on October 21st, 2015, and started living aboard on Rayland. As he quit his job to settle on the boat, he needed an income. So he started writing for the Canal Boat Magazine and Waterways World Magazine, and also did some video production. As David had a background in TV and radio, he decided to start a YouTube channel and earn from it. So he started his YouTube channel, Cruising the Cut, on July 15, 2015, and started documenting his journey from the start, from looking for the narrowboat, living abroad to repairing the boat, etc. Eventually, David's channel started gaining momentum, and he started seriously working on it. His experience with working on TV and other YouTube channels helped in the success of Cruising the Cut. Prior to starting his boat channel, David worked on his other channels like UK Airscape, David Expert TV, and Tube Shooter Mag. After starting Cruising the Cut, he started Vandemonium and David Reed's Stories channels. Currently, David has 262K subscribers on Cruising the Cut and earns from ads, merchandise, affiliate marketing. He also accepts donations on Patreon, Ko-fi, and PayPal. David sells some of his older video episodes on Amazon Prime, and he also published the book, Cruising the Cut. He films with Sony EX43A 4K Handycam, DJI Osmo Action Camera, and DJI Mini 4 Pro drone. David edits his videos with DaVinci Resolve on his MacBook Air M1. While living on the boat, he used to use Nicholson Waterways Guides and Pearson's Canal Companions. He was the 2024 ambassador of the boat life. David stopped cruising on his narrowboat in 2021, and after living in Rayland for 6.5 years, he sold it in April 2022 with Airbnb to purchase a house because he felt that living in a house in his upcoming old age would be more comfortable than living on a boat. The constantly increasing house prices made him to sell his boat to buy a house in 2022, and he moved into it September 2022. In the last couple of years prior to selling Rayland, David was moored at King's Orchard Marina in Huddlesford, England. He had lost the joy of cruising on his own. David replaced publishing his cruising videos with documentary videos related to narrowboats and canals on his YouTube channel. He bought a 1975 Micro Plus 600 boat in November 2023. It's a 20 feet long fiberglass boat. He christened it Twiggy, and he has been publishing its videos. Now let's take a brief look at David's education and early career. He studied BSc in Computer Studies from Loughborough University from 1987 to 1991 and studied LLB Honors Law from University of Kent from 2004 to 2009 and graduated with a first-class honors degree. David worked in IT for about a decade. He shifted from pure IT to a TV-related role before returning to IT. He worked as a presenter and scriptwriter for Connexus Limited and produced and presented videos from 1996 to 1998, and then worked as a video producer for CultureJam.tv from 2001 to 2002. David worked as a broadcast journalist at Kent Messenger Group from 2002 to 2005. He was also an evening show presenter at KM FM radio station. At the time, radio was his passion. In 2005, David worked as a freelance radio and TV broadcast journalist, and from 2006 to 2009, he worked as a broadcast journalist at ITV, where he learned the fundamentals of television, filming, and editing, which later helped him in the production of his YouTube videos. David was the founder and director of Airscape Media Limited from 2009 to 2012, and he worked as a reporter for ITV from 2010 to 2015. He also worked for BBC. David has been a full-time YouTuber since October 2015. He lives in Worcestershire, England. Now enjoy a few tidbits about David. He loves strong and mature cheddar cheese and cheese sandwiches. David loves boating in countryside sceneries over that in urban areas with industrial parks and built-up housing. While living on the boat, he used to love waking up with the water outside and swans and the quackings of ducks. Macclesfield Canal has been David's favorite canal, and spring has been his favorite boating season, thanks to the ideal temperatures and lots of new life on the canals like ducklings with only a few boats around. As a kid, David watched the Poseidon Adventure film and developed a fear of getting on cruise ships. But in December 2023, he was on his first ever cruise ship holiday on P&O Azura and visited the Canary Islands. To his surprise, he enjoyed this cruise. While living in the narrowboat, winters weren't an issue for David as the boat was equipped with wood burners, stoves, and central heating. But summers proved to be difficult, as a narrowboat is essentially a steel tube which heats up due to the greenhouse effect. He is a DIY campervan builder. So, how are you inspired by David Johns' story? Please comment below. If you are into reading, I've also written his story on my website. Find the link in this video's description. For more success stories of your favorite YouTubers, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.